Hello, everyone, and welcome to World War II Above and Below. This podcast episode is aimed at a particular crowd who play a particular game, which I also been playing since its inception in 2008, not to date myself. Darkest Hour Europe 44 to 45 is a World War II first-person shooter for the PC and a free mod of the critically acclaimed Red Orchestra Ostfront 41 to 45. Seriously, folks, if you're looking for a World War II shooter game on your computer, DH offers a lot, especially since it implemented all of the Red Orchestra assets several years ago. Battles of the Eastern and Western fronts can be found with all sorts of different weapons and vehicles. And Darkest Hour is on the verge of releasing its new update focused on Operation Husky, the Allied invasion of Sicily in July 1943. And with me are three developers from the team who go by the call signs of Red Wolfkraut and Razor Jesus. So if you're wondering why I'm calling them that, that is actually their nicknames in game. So that's what they've chosen. I've known all of these guys for some time, and they've been working on this particular part of the game for a few years. And well, let's give them a chance to talk about their hard work. So, guys, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves here and maybe talk about your roles in the development team. We'll start with Beauty Before Age. Razor Jesus, please
Thank you
introduce
very much.
yourself.
Well, I'm Razor, and I'm a mapper for Darkest Hour. I've been around since 2007, 8-ish, on and off. Yeah, basically been working on maps this whole time.
So you could say he's the old guy of the trio of people here.
Yes, thank you, Doodle.
You got it. Yeah, well, hey, I'm right behind you, so don't feel too bad. All right, Red, what do you do for the DH team?
Hello. Um, I'm a modeler for the DH. I joined the team about 2020. Um, so my basic, my primarily area here is the vehicles, artillery pieces, and well, basically everything that is technical.
Okay. Wolfkraut, you're up.
Yeah, hey everyone. So I'm also mainly a level designer. I make maps, I work on maps, I fix Razor's maps.
Oh, yo, hold up.
That
and
one was personal.
nothing personal,
A
Razor.
little
Sorry.
inside joke there for the DH community.
Yeah, and then besides that, I also do the community management for most of everything, really. Manage the forums, reply to people on Discord, general tech support. I do basically all kinds of random things. I've dabbled in some of the sound editing as well, a little bit of coding, but I am definitely not a programmer. And I started in 2019, so I've been doing this for 6 years now.
But you've also been playing DH for longer than that. And that's what I should actually ask all three of you guys. When was the first time you started playing DH?
Yeah, so I was a late bloomer as far as development because I started playing back in 2011, 2010. So definitely quite a while before I started working on the game. I was like, it's time to give back to this thing that I've been playing for years.
Mm-hmm. I don't have that feeling yet.
Yeah, I started playing around 2014, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, and I started when it released, and I was like, well, this is cool. I want to do like a map for it. And I think that was basically my way into it as well. It was like I played it a little. I was like, I want a map that's not in the game, and I was like, well, this map is cool. The old lead dev said, and that's basically my entryway into the team.
Sicily. It's probably, well, I mean, we're going to put aside the Pacific because Darkest Hour focuses on Europe, but it's probably the one area you guys really haven't gone into. Why Sicily? Anybody?
I think that's a question for Razor, honestly, because he really led the charge with that.
Yeah, I think it all started. I remember when we had another member on the team still, and he had some drier climate static meshes he put into the game, and I was like, okay, let me try something, and I started working on the Sicilian coastal town of Gela, which was basically just okay, cool landing scene that I wanted to do for a screenshot, and that basically started the whole thing, I think.
This is how many of Razor's maps start, by the way.
Yeah,
He's like, I want to make a cool scene.
yeah. That's it. That's it.
Pranks that went out of control.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Razor, I think, was really the driving force there. There was some general, I guess, interest in the team in doing something either in North Africa or Italy. But then Razor really put it into motion and got us started. And then I think a couple years after that, he really started out with G-Love kind of by himself as the driving force. And then once he got pretty far along with it, we were like, oh, wow, we're doing this, I guess. And everybody else got on board.
And when exactly, Razor, do you remember when exactly that went down? How many years ago that was?
Oh shit, that was straight. I think it was when Corona started. So started 2020 ish.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been sitting on that map specifically for a long time.
Well, and it's certainly been a labor of love for you guys. I'm just curious. So you started with a map, and then when did like new assets really start to pick up?
When did they start picking up? I think there was still a lot of other stuff that the rest of the team was doing while I was doing my thing. But once that was finished off and put in the game, everyone else started doing like vehicles or weapons for it. Do you guys remember when that was?
I think it probably went around 2022, like the end of it, and the starting of like 2023. Because about this time, I was like trying to like still learning the Blender and the like the hardware to do this, and sorry, the software. And then I just was asked to pick somebody else's project for the utility and like get the Panther aside for a little while and started making the utility because it was priority. I think it started with the Medi CV33.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. I think actually the first thing we did, well, you know what? The first thing actually might have been Ivan's Carcano models. Because he kind of, so for those who aren't aware, he actually is also working on the Forgotten Hope 2 team, a game you might also be aware of if you like Darkest Hour. So he started out as, they were doing Italy stuff as well, and he was making models for them. And he was like, hey, I also play DH, and they're cool with this. So do you guys want to, maybe we could collaborate here, make these guns at the same time? So I think those might have been the first assets besides just like static meshes and the maps that got made. And then I think the next thing after that was Maddie started making the Italian infantrymen. We were like, okay, we're going to do like your standard Italian Livorno infantry division model. So yeah, that was probably around 2023, like Red was saying, that really the rest of it started kicking into gear and we started getting other assets. And then it was kind of a flood after that. More people started getting into it, more of the team joined. We started getting more guns, more tanks, all kinds of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the first, I want to say on the Patreon, it was announced in, I want to say 2022. And I think it was Sicily. So was it always Sicily from the get-go? Or did it start as Italy and then you guys kind of like bottlenecked it down? Or how did that process work?
It started with Gila, of course, which was part
Right.
of Sicily. And the next map I actually started making with Maddie. He got the height map and stuff imported for it, was actually Monte Cassino. So at that time, we weren't specifically doing Sicily yet. That more happened afterwards when we realized that we were gonna have some kick-ass models in the game for the Italians, and they didn't really fight at Monte Cassino, and at least not for. Well, did they fight at Monte Cassino for the Allies?
That is a good question, actually. I'm pretty sure they didn't.
Yeah.
But by that point, right, they're using completely different equipment,
Exactly.
uniforms.
Uniforms
So
and stuff. And I think that the whole point was that now that we've made these cool models and tanks and weapons and all that kind of stuff, we really wanted to showcase it. So that's when we started focusing more on Sicily battles and kind of centering it around Sicily.
Okay.
for the first release.
Gotcha. Okay, so Razor, keep holding that mic. Let's get into the Sicily update. So you're doing the maps. Besides Jello, what else do we have in store?
We have Nishemi, basically the outskirts of the Nishemi town, which is it's going to be a lot of countryside and a little bit of cliffy hill town, I guess. We have Ponte Olivo, the airfield. That I think we also got the height map for that imported from Maddie as well back then. So it's basically what that means is it's as close as we can get to the actual terrain of the area, which is also it makes stuff easier, but it's also cool to be working on it like that.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've always appreciated, the attention to detail. If anybody's been to some of these World War II battlefields, um, the DH maps that you guys make are pretty damn close to it. Like, I mean, obviously I've talked about on the DH Discord, Razor, how Lafayette Bridge looks like Lafayette Bridge.
Yeah.
So real quick, what is that? Walk me through how you make that map. Are you looking at Google Maps? Are you looking at reference material like photographs and footage of the time? What are you doing to compile like a little catalog of reference to making these?
I think it depends on where my ADHD brain is at the moment. It's
Sure.
it's kind of sometimes I just go with it, go with the flow, and it's not very historical. Other times I'm very like I go to, like you say, Google Maps, Street View, figure out which buildings are there, trying to find aerial photographs of the area, whatever. We're actually at the moment we're trying to gather information on Troina, and that area. So what we did was take Google Maps and find all the pictures we can from World War II back in 1943, and we placed them on the map with arrows of which streets they were taken on and stuff like that.
Wow.
So yeah,
That had to have been painstakingly difficult work.
oh, it is. Sometimes it's just moving through Street View to figure out where it might be.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I also
Yeah.
may add that we sometimes get in lucky in finding those old maps from from those times, like 1943 maps, like military maps or just general like civilian maps, but with old city layouts before they were bombed and rebuilt, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, all of the national archives have been a huge help for us. Not just the American ones, but even like the Italian National Archives. I've even used like the French archives. They have some pretty good data on Sicily. I would say I'd like add on to that as well that sometimes like researching this is as much work, maybe more work, than actually making it. Because it takes a while to dig up some of this stuff.
It's true. Yeah.
So okay, well then let's take it over to Red then. So Red, you do a lot of you do most of the vehicle models. How difficult, if it maybe it was or wasn't, how difficult was it to get that reference material to work on these Italian vehicles?
I wouldn't say it's easy for sure, because especially with the Italian vehicles, most of them were either so rare that blueprints are just no longer exist, or even if they does, it's stored somewhere like in Italian archives that I 100% don't have access to for the moment. But basically, what I'm trying to search for my references are, well, the factory blueprints, or some sort of documentation that have those plans with the dimension and stuff is like the best ones. But with Italian vehicles, it's usually not the case. So most of them, it's photographs, and like a lot of luck I got is with the restoration process of some of the um, private collectors who were like finding those rusty tanks somewhere in the backyards and starting to restoring them. The YouTube channel called Australian Artillery and Tanks Museum
Yeah.
have really good videos about it, where I can just find some good details and good angles that I need. So
And,
yeah, basically like walk-arounds, photos, also good references.
and what vehicles are we going to see that you've worked on in this?
Yeah, let's bring up the list. So I did. We're gonna have like a small tank cat called CV33 or L3-33, the light tank L6-40 with the 20 mil autocannon. Then we're gonna have the fast reconnaissance vehicle called AB or Auto Blinder 41. It was done. The model was done basically by the Napoleon. I just did the interior for it and the turret because it shares the same turret with the L640. So I already got the turret and the interior for it. So I just passed him over the model and the textures for his AB. Then we got a small tank destroyer like SPG Semovente 47-33, 32. Sorry. It's also based on this light tank L640, but with open top and 47 millimeter cannon installed in the sponson. And then for the spicy boy, we got a Semovente the 90-52, so it's like a big cannon, like basically the Italian 88. But with this vehicle, we got only four shells in it. Sorry, 8 shells stored in this thing because like the ammo rack is so low and so small. There's no any like place for it to be in the tank. They all stored in the back of the tank, like under the gun, and you can actually you will be able to see it if you're outside of the tank.
Yeah, so make sure you spawn a vehicle ammo
Yeah.
box next to that
Well,
thing.
the fun thing about this thing is that for especially this one, this SPG, they have designed its own like small carrier with the ammo. So it's like a towing, I don't know, like a trailer with full
Right.
of ammo. But due to like engine limitations, we cannot like have this one. So yeah, we gotta like this gonna let's say this Semoventi is gonna be hungry on those logistics.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't recognize that that would be really hard to model in video games.
Yeah.
Lot of questionable decisions by the Italian military in World War II. So, and you don't only work on the vehicles. There are a couple of I mean, I'm a big World War II aviation guy. So I mean, and again, the planes are only static, but I do got to give you a shout out on the plane. So, talk about what you worked on for that.
Oh yeah, well, I'm a quite of the aviation enthusiast myself. I loved airplanes since I was a kid, so I have a lot of paper models that I've done throughout the time. I have a unfinished RC model of BF-109. So yeah, I was asked to that since we got a like an airfield map, I was asked to do some of the like planes, and when I asked which ones, they like the guys around me just asked me for like basic Italian fighters or some sort of like World War II planes. So yeah, I just jumped in and quickly assembled those C202 and the G50 models. This was like a sort of like also like experimental projects for me because I was still learning at the time. So there's like a lot of new stuff in the modeling process. I learned too. So
And once you got the modeling process down, um, how long would you say at your best, to use Razor's term, at your best ADHD moment, uh, how long does it usually take you to put together a model like that?
um, if I have like all the references, if it's like easily accessible, I would say like 2 weeks maximum, even like faster. And keep
Wow.
in mind, I'm working like 5-2 on a factory, so I have like a lot of time taken by the work. So I got like 4 or 5 hours before I go to bed each day, and 2 week off days. So yeah,
Well,
if I
hats
was,
off. Yeah, that's
yeah,
amazing.
He's a
if
beast.
if I would get paid and or just well, if I would given food, I would basically can work on DH 24/7 in their basement.
Well, and that's one thing I want to point out to the listening audience here is that you guys are not paid. I mean, this is a true labor of love, And
Yeah.
I got to tell you guys, I mean, don't break your arm patting yourselves on the back. This is hard work. I mean, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of the level of detail you guys go into on that. So we've talked about maps, we've talked about vehicles. Let's go into small arms. I assume, Wolf, you're going to be my guy to talk to on that. What are we looking at for new small arms in the game?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have. Actually, I do just want to quickly follow up on some of the stuff
Please
that
do.
Red was saying. Like he mentioned, and it does kind of segue into this. Like he mentioned, like the Australian Armor Museum. That is a great resource for us. The YouTube videos that those museums have been doing, and that goes too for firearms as well, right? Like Forgotten Weapons has been a huge resource for us. Some of these Italian guns are so obscure.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of information out on them. So we'll be sitting there, like me and Bassnet, who does a lot of our animations. We'll be sitting there like, how does this thing work? We would not, if we'd been doing this 10 years ago before those videos were around, we wouldn't know. That stuff just didn't exist. So those guys have been a huge help to not just us, but like the game creation community as a whole. So I just want to throw a shout out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so unfortunately, we don't have one of our weapon modelers with us here today. But as far as our list, we have the Carcano, obviously the iconic Italian service rifle at the time. But also, we're going to have the Carcano carbine now, which I think I was showing you a couple days ago. So we're going to try to get that in for the release as well. We're going to have 2 variants of the Carcano. Eventually, we're going to have 3, both carbine versions, the TS version as well as the folding bayonet. We've also got the MAB 38, the iconic submachine gun. We're also going to have the MAB 3842. That's not going to be in Sicily. That's probably going to be issued to German troops on some of our late war maps. We've got the M1934 pistol, the Beretta. We've got the Beretta Modella 30 light machine gun, which is a terrible weapon, but you got to make do. We're all about historical accuracy here on DH. So, if the gun's bad, it's going to be bad in DH.
It's even got a barrel change animation. We're never going to need that.
Yeah. We're also going to have, not in the first release, but we're also working to add mounted machine guns finally. That's going to be something new to DH as a whole. So heavy machine guns, medium machine guns on tripods. So the Italians are going to be the first ones to have that with the Fiat 14 as well as the Fiat 1435 modification. So that's going to be really cool.
Well, they need all the help they can get.
Yeah, that was one of our motivations, right? We're looking at this like, man, their light machine gun is not great. So what can we do to help them? And kind of as an extension of that, it'll eventually help everyone else, all the other factions. So that's going to be cool as well. Yeah. Also, although not a gun, we've got the first impact nades.
Yeah, those are cool.
In DH. So the famous, infamous Red Devils are going to be in DH, and they even have the feature modeled where they may not explode on impact. They're very prone to being duds. They're very prone to surfaces that aren't very hard, or if you don't throw it very far, they can potentially not explode on impact, and then they turn into UXOs, right? They can be mines. Don't kick that thing.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
That's a cool new feature we've got as well.
And they really live up to their name, honestly. Like, you don't want to be in the business end of that thing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, even pulling a pin and throwing one from behind cover. I mean, if you get hit, all the guys in your squad are dead next to you. And
yeah,
I mean, boy, you're gonna catch shit from a lot of people on your own team for that. Yeah, they're a double-edged sword.
Don't forget about like 8mm anti-tank rifle.
Yeah, that's true. It's a pretty cool gun, actually. It's the captured Polish VZ35. So the Germans captured a bunch of these, obviously, at the end of the invasion of Poland. And they gave a lot of them to Italy, and they ended up reusing them. So for our maps, we're going to have those as that being the primary Italian anti-tank weapon.
Those are nasty little thing, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
And what caliber is that?
It's actually 8mm. It's a lengthened Mauser.
Oh, interesting.
So basically, it's a normal Mauser bullet. It's not even tungsten cord or anything.
Uh-huh.
Well, actually, that's not quite true because the Germans ended up changing the Polish ammunition themselves.
Uh-huh.
So some of them do have tungsten cores.
Okay.
But basically, they just took a normal 8mm Mauser round
Right.
and they put a huge case on it, made it as hot as possible, and that was basically the concept behind it. Very
Okay.
tiny projectile going extremely fast.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That
But
is
yeah,
cool.
so we'll have that, and I think overall we're gonna have 9 new guns in total. So we're kind of more focused on historical accuracy, right? So we're mostly doing weapons that really were common in the theater. We're not really doing, weird prototypes that you might see in other games. So
Yeah. Looking at you, Battlefield.
yes, exactly.
Also, just want to mention that the Italians will get a new anti-tank grenade called Otto Tipo L. This is like imagine like your steel hand grenade, but with actual like big red projectile on top of it. So like if it's like your Gebettellandung, like a lot of stick grenades put into one big can, and you stick a broom handle to it and throw it into the tanks. So like big grenades go big boom.
Can't imagine you can throw that very far.
No,
Not
and
really.
it's an impact grenade
Oh,
because the Italians just love that.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure you're up on a rooftop when you throw that.
Or make sure there's a lot of your friendly soldiers around you when you throw it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Don't spawn until I throw this. Yeah.
The DH way.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's fantastic. And then I want to go back to the buildable machine guns. That's something that people have, myself included, have wanted to see in game for a long time. So the Italians are first. What are we going to see for the Germans? What are we going to see? I mean, obviously, we know, but some of the people listening probably won't know. So can we go into that a little bit?
Yeah, so our long-term plan with that is we're going to have the MG34, obviously, and the MG42 for the Germans on their Lafette tripod mounts. So the Germans were kind of unique in that a heavy machine gun for them was their standard light machine gun, but on a tripod.
Right.
That was the distinguishing factor. So that's also going to be the case in DH. We're going to have the tripods, and those also tended to have periscopes on them, which is quite interesting. So we'll be able to somewhat fire it from cover. For the Americans, we're going to have the 1919 A4. Currently, we only have the 1919 A6 for infantry, so that's going to be a big deal, and also something that we need for Sicily, right? Because the A6 was not actually in service yet, so we're not going to have a light machine gun for the Americans besides the BAR, which isn't quite a light machine gun. So that's going to be important for the game balance, but also just really fun to have. We're also going to be having the M2 on a tripod as well. So that's going to be cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Red might be able to speak a little bit more to the Russian machine guns we're going to be doing.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think for the Soviet machine guns, we're gonna have infamous Maxim on its wheeled mount with a shield. Just like your standard Maxim 1910-30.
That's
I think
cool.
that's it for right now. Maybe something will be changed or disguised along the way, but as far as I know, that's it.
I don't want to forget our English friends. Are we going to get a Vickers?
That is a good question, but yeah,
Okay.
we should.
Okay. Awesome. Maybe a M1917 water-cooled machine gun too.
Ooh.
That is
Just,
actually in the plans, yes.
Okay, great.
So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So the next question I had is new or improved game mechanics, and I guess that's kind of a broad question that doesn't necessarily have to pertain to Sicily. I think the one looming question is: are we going to see logistics squads? You guys have any input on something like that?
Yeah, so that's something that we've been talking about for a long time, is how we can overhaul some of the squad aspects of the game, because it's a huge part of the game, but it's also something that was never quite finished when it was first implemented. The idea was, how do we promote teamwork, but also how do we promote realistic unit cohesion, realistic TO&Es. And so currently our system doesn't quite get there. It gets It's pretty good for gameplay. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
at this point are used to it, but it has some definite drawbacks. And one of them is with logistics, because the way it works now, for people not familiar with DH, basically building is done by an assistant squad leader who volunteers in each squad. But if nobody volunteers for that, well, then nobody's building anything, and an army without logistics tends to not go very far. So what we're wanting to do is kind of separate this out, because we've also identified that it's kind of bad to have a member of your squad that doesn't fight with the squad. It's kind of a flawed concept in retrospect. So what we're thinking to do is start introducing an independent squad whose job will be logistics. It'll probably be a smaller squad for gameplay reasons, but those people will be completely focused on building things. Now, that's not going to come out with Italy. That's something we're still kind of prototyping
Sure.
and working out the details of. So probably I would expect that to come and start being finalized maybe a few months after the fact.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's enlightening to hear. I know that's, and again, it's an old engine.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we have a lot of limitations that we have to work around.
For sure. Okay, so Sicily. What's after that?
What's after Sicily? Well, we can go different directions, I think. We could go mainland Italy, which is a given now that we have Monte Cassino in the works, which would be around 50-60% done, I think. We also did have another map made by Backish. Was that Ortona?
Was, yeah.
Yeah. That also needs a bunch of work if we take that over. So that would be the I guess the logical next step. But we could also go North Africa, which would also be very interesting, I think.
Don't forget the Volga crossing and the the center of Stalingrad.
Oh shit! Yeah. I promised Red that we would do Stalingrad. So yeah, we at least for Sicily, it's all very connected, but it's still kind of open what we'll do after that. But I think definitely finish off Monte Cassino for sure.
Yeah, I think it's actually good to point out that because we are a mod team and everybody here is a volunteer, we have Italy is actually pretty unique for us in that kind of the whole team has come together to work on this single thing. We've all been kind of united in one focus and one goal. But I think after Sicily, we may start to see, because there's a lot of people on the team that want to do different things. Like Red said, Stalingrad, more Eastern Front content, which I think has been kind of neglected in DH for a while. So I think we will definitely see some more variety and not necessarily just a focus on another new campaign. So we're definitely going to continue with Sicily. We're going to do at least a couple more Sicily maps. In fact, we have one Sicily map that's not even going to be in the release, but it's already pretty much done. I don't think we've even talked about that. That is another Razor map. And then I think definitely North Africa is something we'd like to do as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, I think we have some assets like vehicles that not gonna be in release, but gonna be added later.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, we're also actually at the moment like laying the groundwork for Catania. Wolf and I.
Yeah, that's true.
Found some good aerial shots of it, and Wolf is doing that bit of it, adding it to the terrain and stuff, and I'm doing weird stuff with the train cars, making them look destroyed and all that. So that's another map coming someday. I don't want to give a date on it because we never know.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we're still going to do a little bit of more Sicily after this first release.
I mean, we made the Italians. We want to use them.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. That's pretty much it. And we have these wonderful voices for them as well that just sound amazing. So it's quality content. It's some of the best we've ever done. So we want to milk that as much as possible.
Speaking about quality, though, as mentioned before, some of us want to do a different direction. I specifically want to basically redo all the old assets that for now looking kind of janky. Like for example, if you look at the American and British AT guns, they're just awful. As long as the basically all the AT guns. So that's the reason I was started to making those.
Yeah, there's a couple of Sherman models
Oh yeah,
that look like they were parked under a tree and left for a while. So it'd be good to get those polished up at some point.
basically all of them.
Not that I need to
Same.
put any more on your guys' plate already, but just in case you need something to do on a rainy day.
No, we already know. We're ashamed of him. We're sorry.
Yeah.
But
Not
I
only
think
we
that's
already.
the I
Yeah,
think that's the fun thing about it's because this mod has been going for so many years, and it started somewhere where it was very early on, and a lot of people just came on and left again. So the quality of assets differed a lot back in the day. So it's fun seeing how through all these years we've started to look back on the older things and going, this is not good enough anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to push the envelope of this old. What is this engine from 2004 or something?
Yeah,
So
I think so.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're basically just pushing it as much as we can, which means everything is looking better, even with this new Sicily release. So everything else is gonna lag. So I guess the good thing is to try and go back and then redo some of the old 2007, 2008
yeah.
assets to make it look the part as well.
The main thing I think, like for me, I think is that the new tanks that Italian have, they all gonna have the track guiding teeth, which is if you look on the older models, there's just like a plain track, but there's no teeth at all. It's gonna be fixed with the new Italian tanks, and this is gonna be like the new standard for basically all the tanks.
Yeah, it's gonna, and there's another aspect that we would like to overhaul as well. Is the allied character models, the Americans, the British, Canadians. Yeah. They're the old saying of Darkest Hour is Darkest Hour, just don't look at it. So it's very jarring now that we have these beautiful Italian character models and everything is perfect, and we still have these old fucking American
Yeah.
models running around looking like an anime face or something. So that's something we really want to touch on. I don't know when exactly, because it is something that will take time, but definitely something we want to redo.
Also about like the Shermans that you asked for, we had a guy named Napoleon, and he started actually working on redoing them. So if we gonna like find him again, because he went somewhere and don't really like, I don't know, like I didn't hear him a lot. What is he like doing? What is he working on? But if he gonna be active again, I think that's on him to fix them.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine, so I will actually get on his case about that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I didn't mean to sneeze them though.
No, it's just, I think it's a lot of real life stuff that, and
Yeah.
that's the thing when this is a hobby for everyone. You give the time that you have, right? And if you don't have a lot of time for it, you kind of go on a hiatus, and you come back when you have more time. I think that's basically what it is at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, and he did he do the model for the Duck?
He
think he
did, I
did.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a vehicle you never see in any games, and I just think that's such a cool addition. And is it actually amphibious?
It is. It is
It
actually
is.
amphibious. Now it's
It
kind of
is.
hacky because
Sure.
the way our engine works, we don't really have a concept of water in the same way that you might in a modern engine.
Mhm.
So the funny behind the scenes thing is that actually we have blocking volumes, which are basically like a form of collision that can work against only certain assets. So in this case, the blocking volume is basically just underneath the surface of the water, and all it blocks is the duck, so that the duck doesn't sink. And it's just driving
Okay.
across this, which is kind of funny, but because
Yeah, it's
all of our maps are set up that way, so it will be amphibious.
yeah,
If it works, it works.
it works.
It-
Yeah,
it-
it's
yeah.
just kind of animated, so it looks like it bobs up and down while
Sure.
it goes in.
The community, I know a few people are curious if maybe there's going to be like a and let's see if I get the term right, like a source development kit, like something that'll make it easier to like even somebody like me can work on a map or try and create a map I mean, are we going to see anything like that?
Yeah, so currently we make all the maps in the Red Orchestra SDK. That is an extremely old tool, and it has a lot of problems, and it causes us a lot of headache. So one of our dev team members, Colin Bassnett, Dark Nation, as some may know him, has been developing a tool so that we can do our map development inside of a different tool called Blender, which is what Red actually uses for 3D modeling. It's a way, way more modern tool. It works a lot better. It doesn't have all the issues that the 20-year-old SDK does that we use currently. And also, it has a lot of new functionality as well that's been specifically made for DH. So, for instance, in the past, if you wanted to make a road, you actually had to sit there and paint the road, like bit by
Oh,
bit.
wow.
It was a very painstaking process.
Yes.
Now you're just going to be able to trace a line and say, I want a road here. It's very fast. You can do it in like 5 minutes. You could do all of the roads on a map less than an hour, whereas before it would have taken a lot more time than that. The same thing with like fences. You can procedurally generate a fence line, fields of like grass and trees, forests. You can do all of this stuff really fast. Just say, I want a forest here, and it does it.
Yeah.
With relatively little input from you as the mapper. So it's a lot faster. It's a lot better. It doesn't crash all the time. So that's definitely something. It's something that's currently still in beta. It is workable. I've used it before, but it's not finished quite yet. So I'm not quite sure when we'll get that out to the public, but probably after Italy.
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen so far, I haven't tried it myself, but just a simple thing as a search function in it that we don't have in the old SDK, which means that if you want to find an asset from RO or DH, you have to remember where it is. If you don't, you have to go through every single package until you find it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a huge thing.
That's a huge thing, and it's so simple, right? But it's just not there in the old SDK. So definitely, if we have to name drop someone in here, I would say we have to name drop Bassnet, not only for the BDK, but for everything he's done to kind of get us over the line with this Sicily update. He's been fundamental in kind of getting everything up to scratch and making sure that we got kicked in the ass over the finish line. So, yeah, thank you, Bassnet. We love you.
Yeah, very much. He is a driving force in DH being alive today. That guy's been working on the game for 15 plus years.
Yeah.
I mean, he even pays for a lot of the server costs out of pocket. So you said before we're volunteers, we don't make money. We actually lose money.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
lose
right.
money. Oh, Bassnet does.
Yeah. So
Okay. Well, guys, unless we have anything else to add or plug, is there anything else anybody wants to say?
I would just like to say thank you to the community, honestly, that supported us for so long. I mean, even going back to the start where we were talking about the references and how you make a map, like another factor has been the community. We have people who are from Sicily that play our game, and they're like, hey, this is what this should look like. This is what my town looks like. These are things you could do better. Just in general, people have been so supportive over the years. Huge shout out to you guys.
Yeah, thank you very
That's
much,
true.
everyone.
Okay, well, guys, if anybody wants to find out more information on Darkest Hour Europe 44 to 45, check out the description of whatever platform you are listening to this on. And guys, this was super fun. I think we should do this again.
Definitely, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm up for it.
Maybe a little pizza party post Sicily release, and we can talk about all things DH.
That would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd be up
Pizza
for
party, yeah.
that.
Okay, guys, thank you for tuning in to World War II Above and Below, and we will see you next time.